It's wonderful to be here. Thank you, Tom, for inviting me to read and to be the McEver chair holder in March. I really look forward to being down here for a little over a month. I live in southern Vermont and feel like the groundhog today, just climbing out of my hole a little bit, where it's been very snowy and windy, but actually unusually warm. This intermittent weather has been very strange there. But I grew up in Virginia and moved to Vermont about 20 years ago, so I'm very, very happy to be back in the South. And I want to thank Bruce for establishing this program here, this chair here at Tech, and for all that Tom has done to create this vibrant new program, which is obviously thriving. I'd like to start with a poem called Goshawk, which is northern. Another name for this creature is the northern hawk, and this takes place in an orchard not far from where the orchard was the inspiration for this, not far from where I live in Putney, Vermont. How many times have I told this story? There I was, ambling along in search of dessert inside the orchard, when a goshawk dove on me with outstretched talons. There I was, all dressed in cotton in the cool of evening, inspecting the trees for infestation, when a goshawk harrowed me. There I was, pinned to the ground like a reprobate, with my liver exposed as a fresh hors d'oeuvre on a dusty plate, when a goshawk circled me in figure eights. There I was, crawling away behind the trees where the apples hung like brains, and nothing I said reminded this bird of who I was. I wrote a book a few years ago called Sharp Golden Thorn, and I think I'll read the title poem from this book. I just want to give these folks a chance to come on in, make yourself comfortable. Wonderful to see there's some seats up here. You have no idea what as a poet what you're going to write next, and I seem to have two muses, a love muse and an animal muse, and I still can't figure out where they who they are exactly. But I'm not telling them to go away. This is a Sharp Golden Thorn. I love the feel of your mouth against mine. I love the sight of your body next to me. I said to you while you slept, look what God has made. My eyes grew 10,000 lids in my sleep. When the sun came up, I opened them all morning onto the sight of you. I was both myself and a host of witnesses. I thought, what would I do without you? How could my memory sustain me? How could this thorn remain inside me? I was remembering and watching you at the same time. I was dying and becoming inside the flames. I was the man in the fire that is his beloved. This next one is called What the Animals Teach Us. We have some more folks coming in. Come on in. There's some chairs up here. This is a list, this catalog. What the animals teach us: that love is dependent on memory, that thought is an invisible veil that covers our eyes, that death is only another animal, that beauty is formed by desperation, that sex is solely a human problem, that pets are wild in heaven, that sounds and smells escape us, that there are bones in the earth without any marker, that language refers to too many things, that music hints at what we heard before we sang, that the circle is loaded, that nothing we know by forgetting is sacred, that humor charges the smallest things, that the gods are animals without their masks, that stones tell secrets to the wildest creatures, that nature is an idea and not a place, that our bodies have diminished in size and strength, that our faces are terrible, that our eyes are double when gazed upon, that snakes do talk as well as asses, that we compose our only audience, that we are geniuses when we wish to kill, that we are naked despite our clothes, that our minds are bodies in another world. This poem is called Flight Delay at Terminal X, and I'm still trying to figure out what in the world it's about. It's about being trapped in an airport and imagining the beloved there, who is a kind of Beatrice figure, as in Dante's Divine Comedy, but my own personal Beatrice, who I am still thinking about. So it's a kind of eschatological or apocalyptic poem that's also rooted in the past with some of these references. The double voice of a woman speaks from above, announcing times, gates, and caveats, while also declaring, "Walk like a man in the eschaton. Carry your carry-on as if nothing were inside. The jet engines roar outside is the sound I need to imagine the force beyond the liftoffs of routine flights, the iron legs of Mr. Ant, the thirst of cork in March, the worker bees ballet. Only the din of disparate voices fills the air of Terminal X. I am alone in this concourse, immune at last to the babe in damask who cannot speak, immune to the crowds that are and are not there, that close to a bardo state as I stare outside at the loud, indignant birds and conjure a cynosure in their midst, beckoning me from the tarmac, to rise from my chair and join her there beneath the wings in the wind of planes, to walk hand in hand down the runway as if it were water, reciting the analects that matter most, preparing, as it were, for the worst, with truths on our lips, keeping our distance, while nonetheless touching, giving up our seats in bliss to the standbys. She is the one whose voice bedights the air in the concourse, who must be conjured first before she is recognized in her peasant dress, someone you've known before, but not like this. There now, in mufti, shining like Beatrice, she espouses the law on the runway under the duress of the irate man for whom this pilgrimage is slow perforce, for whom she waits in the median within a cloud of flowers. What was I waiting for that wasn't here already? This delay is a blessing, therefore, for anyone who hears, which is to see. How to stay in that domain where you belong but is not home. How to explain, I saw the angel who was not there but spoke to me from the other world that was also here, whom I imagined and then proclaimed. All the planes that I have missed in the meantime are testaments to my delay. Let them land without me, I say, to the guard who comes for me in my chair that is perfect, where all I feel is the grip of her hand. Here's a rather brief poem that I will read next. It's called, in fact, in the brief time we have left, Let the ant live that's crossing the table. Give me a kiss. Give me another kiss. Moving along, let's see. I think I would like to read a poem for the Georgia Tech mascot next. It's called, of course, Yellow Jacket. Yellow Jackets. This poem is about the virtue of pain over passivity. I was in awe of the way they lived in both the ground and air, both digging and flying, both demons and angels. I was ready to kill them with gasoline when I noticed my neighbor's animal eyes across the street. I could tell from the way he was looking at the can that he wanted them dead, for no other reason than wanting them dead. I put down the can and rose to the height of the just cut grass, high enough to see the sills of heaven, yet not so high to keep from burning with a few unnatural questions. Have you ever got down on your knees and listened to the buzz of your own grief, then seen your face in another face as different from yours as a yellow jacket? Have you ever swelled with a tiny sting, then feared for your life? I hit the ground with dangerous force when he turned away, so high was that inch to which I had risen. The bees awoke from the thud of my weight and stormed from their hole in quick pursuit. I fled like a fool into the street and then his yard with a dozen stings on my legs and arms. But oh, what pleasure I took in causing him envy. I'd like to read just a newer poem here that was inspired by the many of the helicopter rescues I witnessed after Katrina. This is called Rescue. See how he multiplies as one into all, gazing up at the sky like a soul still burdened by the weight of his body, still dressed in yesterday's clothes, but just barely. We give him a name that is also ours, for all the difference we see in him is the same in ourselves, that is famous for being unknown in the end and strange, but common. We gaze through the window of his frightened face at the long, short line in which we stand on the sinking earth, and then the rope that lifts us up into the bay of a dark interior. We pray for ourselves by praying for each other, which is close enough for the host of hosts who hovers above the whirling blades. About three more here. Thought I'd bring a little Vermont down here, if you don't mind. It's just so cold up there. We have to share it. We feel warmer sharing it. This is really what it's like. You know, sometimes, not this winter, but a few winters ago, it did not go above zero for about 6 days in January. It's so cold, you know, your nose sticks together when you walk outside and just, you know, when you breathe. You're probably like, why the heck does he live up there? This is called December 10th. I saw the first cardinal this morning in the snow outside my window at the feeder and was tempted to call him my heart for his color, shape, and hunger. But no, not yet. Rather, little red bandit at home in the north, where the sky conspires with the cold to form a blue so deep you can see straight through. Where somehow the voles dig deep enough to survive the frost and the fox grows thin but lives on bones till March. Where the deer eat cones and bears digest themselves in the dark. Where all things live, in fact, with a fear that they might die tonight from the terrible cold and lack, although they have no word for it, only the songs they sing we call the music of life. I watch the cardinal devour seeds by the dozens and then fly off, no less diminished, to grow hungry again in a matter of minutes, to remain on the feeder for a couple of seconds as a ghost of the bird that shames the winter. This next poem is called The Thin Path. I have a friend who named Ethan Kanan. You may know his work. He's a short story writer, and he's turning a movie, or he's written a screenplay from one of his stories called Batterzag and Zarelem, which is Hungarian, and it's the name of two brothers actually, and he has sold this script, and they've made the movie of this, and it's called Beautiful Ohio, and it should be out next year, maybe the end of this year, with William Hurt in it and Rita Wilson. And he wrote to me asking me if I knew any good love poems. And the movie needed a good love poem at the end, and I said Neruda, of course. And he tried a Neruda poem, but they couldn't get the rights for all the rights for it. So he asked me if he could use this poem, and so I'm very flattered that they're using this at the end of this very moving movie about two young men growing up in 1973. It's called The Thin Path. The quiet I keep on the path to the beach is the hardest. The sound of your talk below and the waves unrolling against the shore of broken stones is an oracle, my future now, of loving you. I am caught beneath the tilt of maples and cry of difference between 10,000 things, leaf and stone, rail and wave, me, you. I feel old in this descent, naming blossoms along the trail, hyacinth, lilac, and roses. I feel a table has been righted in my heart, and I am ready now to place a vase at its center with a single flower. Two more. This next one is called From the Curriculum of a Guilty Man. This came naturally. This is another sort of list poem. The furniture in the unused room grows heavier and heavier. The fireman's duty redeems his prejudice. Judging others is permissible if you're writing from hell. An ounce is a ton in the underworld. The heart is a stone without the imagination. Death is spelled in every name. The dirt you shake from your shoes at the doors where you're not welcome is enough to fill a garden. There's no other way to keep a secret than by telling it. Each night is an ocean in which you almost drown. The smell of pear blossoms is just as sweet to the criminal as it is to the saint. If you think you're right, think again. This final poem is the title poem of this book called Night Mowing. The farmer who lives next door to us mows his meadow for some reason at night. So he wakes me up sometimes 11 or 12. I hear this old farm all down there with a sickle bar cutting the hay, and I've grown used to it at this point, and wrote this poem a couple years ago, and then became the title poem for the book. It's Night Mowing. Memory is a kind of accomplishment, William Carlos Williams said. Memory is a kind of accomplishment. I remember the drone of Francis Temple's farmall mowing in the dark of a mid-September night. Its deep, desultory blasts were also guttural, half motor, half cat, as it labored in the meadow back and forth, felling hay in 6-foot rows with a sickle bar that rattled like a snake. The memory of that mowing grows in my mind, which is also a field that's overgrown with every weed and type of grass, no less real than the tractor itself mowing in the dark. I wake with a start to the sound of that engine, the same old farmall I heard as a boy, so that I am forever waking and remembering at the same time to the accompaniment of a tractor I cannot see in the meadow, but know is there, as it is tonight, 30 years later, growing newer instead of older, as it takes me back and it's moving forward down the rows of waist-high hay that fall like hair against the earth. Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you.